Welcome to the Infidelity Doctor channel. My name is Dr. Talal, and this is the Ask Dr. Talal segment. You'll place to ask me anything you want to know about affair recovery and affair prevention. Please remember that this segment is not a substitute for the individual and couples counseling that you're supposed to be getting. This is merely a place for you to get some basic questions answered, as well as a place for you to learn about my clinical insights when it comes to affair recovery and affair prevention. So before we get to the question of the week, make sure that you like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you can get the most recent updates. So the question of the week is as follows. I cheated and I don't understand why. What causes infidelity? Can you please help? That's a great question to ask because it actually gives me an opportunity to talk about some of the myths that people have about the causes of infidelity. So if you ask the average person, why does infidelity happen? Most people say infidelity happened because people are not happy with their partner, therefore they cheat with somebody else outside the relationship. Granted, relationship dissatisfaction is one of the leading causes of infidelity, but it's not the only one because we all have seen those relationships or have been in those relationships where there is no relationship deficit, but yet we are still dealing with infidelity. Well, sometimes infidelity happens for other reasons outside of relationship deficits. So when we look at the etiology of infidelity, I encourage client as well as my trainees to think about three different categories of causes of infidelity. We have the relationship deficit. We have the individual factor. These are the issues that people bring to the table prior to being in this relationship, and we also have environmental factors. So when it comes to individual factors, we're talking about people experiences in their family of origin, as well as identifiable and not treated mental health issues that they bring with them when they enter relationships. Common example of individual issues that lead to infidelity, things along the lines of sex addiction, pornography addiction, as well as personality disorders and untreated sexual trauma. If people don't take the time to recognize those issues within themselves, or they recognize those issues and don't treat them effectively, eventually it's going to start creating problems in their immediate relationships with their significant others. As far as the second lens of etiology, which is the relationship factors, think of it this way. Relationship successes and failures are based on need, fulfillment, reciprocity, meaning one of the main reasons why we enter in relationships because we have emotional and sexual needs that we hope to get fulfilled by the partners that we have in this relationship. So this means that relationships should have a clear contract that should stipulate how many people you have in this relationship and what are the needs that are supposed to be fulfilled by the partners in this relationship, and to what extent the need fulfillment is exclusive to the people we have in this relationship contract. So when you have people who are in a relationship and their needs are not being met, those needs are not going to go away. They're just going to find an outlet to manifest, and usually that outlet is somebody else outside the relationship. And the third lens of analysis when it comes to the cause of infidelity is the environmental factors. There are a lot of environmental factors that could lead someone to engage in infidelity. I'm going to share with you two common environmental factors, but there are plenty more of those. One is the occupational environment. Research shows that at least 35% of affairs that usually happen at the workplace with someone's colleague, supervisor, client, or coworker. So the type of jobs people have and the type of occupational environment related to that job can actually put a lot of stress on the individual and the relationship to increase the potential for engaging in infidelity. I give you a common example, and again, just because somebody have this job, it does not mean that they're going to be unfaithful. It just means they have a higher probability for inviting infidelity in their life simply because of the occupational environment of that job. So a common one that research shows on a consistent basis is the folks who are in the military. Why do folks in the military have higher prevalence rates of infidelity? Well, we have the frequent deployment that put a lot of stress on the individual and the relationship. Two, we have increased level of anonymity when people are deployed and they have those fantasies about engaging in infidelity. Oftentimes they're in a different state, different country, which means that they risk of discovery is a lot less, which makes it easier to act on those boundary violations. Sometimes it's the exposure to trauma. So one thing I hear often, people who usually have a partner who is in the military, they usually have a civilian partner at home, and oftentimes you hear those couples complain about disconnection because if you're a civilian, whether you're a stay-home partner or you have a civilian job, it's going to be difficult for you to relate to the struggles that your military partner is exposed to and dealing with. So sometimes that distant not only cause the couple to grow apart, especially if we have the frequent deployment, but also it can draw them closer to the people who they are working with, the people who they spend a lot of time with, the people who can better understand them and the line of work that they have chosen. So you have relationship deficit in one area that's been magnified by environmental factor related to job stressors. Another environmental factor that could lead to infidelity is cultural norms. We all belong to different cultural groups, whether it's macrocultural groups related to ethnicity, religion, or a microcultural group like our family of origin, or the specific professional group that we belong to. When you're part of a cultural group of any kind, you are having to be put in a position to operate within the cultural norms of that group that you belong to. So if you're part of a cultural group in which there is a cultural norm that doesn't frown upon infidelity or actually see it as a sign of masculinity or something positive to engage in, then you're going to be more likely to engage in infidelity behavior simply because your cultural norms doesn't frown upon it. Cultural norms and occupational environment are clear examples of some of the environmental factors that could lead to infidelity. So back full circle to the question in terms of what causes infidelity, I really encourage people to look at it from all three different lenses, not just the relationship deficit, but also the individual issues and the environmental factors. Sometimes, discovering the narrative of the infidelity can suggest that the causes were primarily caused by an individual issue or primarily caused by a relationship issue or by an environmental one or a combination of all three. And this is why getting the story of the infidelity is crucial, because it's going to help you and your partner identify why it happened, and also it's going to help you paint a picture of what would it look like to repair trust and prevent relapse, and whether or not healing together versus individually is the right option to take. I hope this answered the question of the week. Feel free to leave your comments in the comment section below about the answer that you heard this week, as well as suggestions of questions you'd like to see me tackle in future videos. Until then, be well, be safe, and embrace the possibility for a brighter future. Take care.